something that will put you into the mood of giving and opening your heart and Christmas. I mean, I remember on this program, by next week, we would have been all Christmas, and that's all we would have been talking about is Christmas and all the good things about Christmas. We haven't done that in years because we can't afford the airtime to not talk about the things that are going on. But one of the guys who works with me, he is one of our researchers and writers. We've worked together for many years now, and he's a salt of the earth kind of guy, knows his history really well. His name is Nathan Napier, I believe.
It's close.
Or Nathan Nipper. That's what it is. Nathan.
Okay. I've heard of him.
Nathan Nipper. How are you, Nathan?
Good.
So Nathan has written a book, and he brought it to me about a year ago. And I didn't know all of the story at the time that you brought it. I didn't know the backstory. But you were working here years before I came here?
Yeah, before Mercury Studios was even a glint in your eye. You know, this is way back in 2008, 2009. I guess you were doing your Fox show at the time.
Yeah.
And I worked for a separate media company that was housed in the studio building.
Huh.
And so in the aftermath of that 2008 financial crisis, this company that I was working for started having some financial problems of their own. You know, they were having trouble making payroll.
Yeah.
And sort of longish story shorter, I had done some minor league screenwriting, early in my career. And this particular story that is now this book, I wrote as a screenplay, and I really needed a sale at the time because they were having trouble making payroll. Right. And came really close. I thought it was going to happen. The agent that I was working with at the time, she was very enthusiastic about it, made it to the final level at this cable network that shall be, remain nameless.
And, not to you, but to the rest of us.
It did not happen. I was crushed.
And it didn't happen because it references It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. The sort of the reasoning, and you never know these things. Screenwriting business is
horrible,
very horrible. But that was one of the final. The final decision maker was like, well, you kind of have to know too much about that movie, to understand what's going on, and that was sort of their excuse.
And nobody knows
who knows anything about It's a Wonderful Life.
And that's what the agent said at the time, and I was like, I know that's how I feel. Everybody knows this movie, but
so the book is out today, and you wrote it, and then you put the story away. You came to work for me, right?
Yeah, it's overwhelming, honestly, the fact that I'm here sitting in this building again talking to you, because it's really, this book represents, I mean, this is God's kindness, God's paying attention to the details of our lives, and redeeming things that you think is hopeless, situations that you think are hopeless, because, I mean, I actually, because I wasn't getting paid at the time, and I stayed on at that media company in the hopes that it was going to turn around while I'm applying to other jobs, and then I had that rejection of the script sale, and so I stayed late actually, it's in the office where Stu's producer works now. I sat up there for a few hours one night, just cranked out the first chapter, thinking, could I turn this into a book? And then I was like, no, I don't have time for this. I got a third child was on the way at the time, not getting paid. I mean, it was a desperate situation, And so I did the old proverbial, put it in a drawer and didn't touch it for years. So I finally did. 6 years ago is when I cranked out the first draft of this book, just before I started working with you. And it kind of melts my brain that I'm now back in the studio, that I had sworn off working in media. Seriously, I had walked away from the industry.
The book starts kind of like the George Bailey thing, jumping from a bridge, and I think that has nothing to do with It's a Wonderful Life. That's Nathan going, Why did I go back and work for him? I could jump off a bridge.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you had made, some of your scripts had been made into movies before. This is not like, you weren't just like, it wasn't like a shot in the dark.
That's true. And I say minor league because it was, I guess, basic cable, it's probably AA ball or whatever. But
yeah.
More than I've done.
It wasn't totally random. I had done that before, and so that's why I thought, oh, there's a chance here, maybe this is going to go through.
So, Nathan, tell me the story quickly. It's called Life on Christmas Eve, a novel by Nathan Nipper.
Right. The French pronunciation.
Yes. Life on Christmas Eve. It's available now, and I've read it. It's really, really good. You're going to love it. But tell the story.
It's basically about a 31-year-old small-town woman who watches It's a Wonderful Life for the very first time, and shortly after she does, she starts to notice some unusual similarities between things that happened to her and things that happened in the movie. And so essentially her quest to figure out why these things might be happening and what it might mean, if anything, leads to this life-changing encounter with a stranger on Christmas Eve.
Right, and she starts out, she's not watched the movie.
Right. She's never seen it. And she's one of those millennials that, turn up their noses at black and white movies.
It is interesting that the reason initially the movie wasn't made is because someone might not know enough about It's a Wonderful Life. That's actually the story of the book, too.
Right.
Where
she learns about it all the way through.
Yeah.
They're like, remember this scene? No, I never watched it. I mean, it's a pretty...
you disproved your own case for the movie. Initially.
It's, it's one of my all-time favorite movies. It's still a classic. I mean, it's a genuinely great movie, and so it was fun to sort of work in this homage, to use it as kind of a device to tell a different story.
I like the juxtaposition of the time back then that the movie took place and now, because we seem like a much harsher society.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if the pandemic showed us anything, it's a pandemic of a lack of grace, I feel like.
Yeah.
And in our culture, grace is something that we all want for ourselves, but are loath to give to other people so often. And so, that's one of the themes of the book is undeserved grace in some of the relationships that the main character has. Yeah.
How much does God play a role in all of this?
In the book or my overall personal story?
Personal story and getting it where it is.
Oh, yeah. It's a total God thing. I mean, it really almost makes me emotional to consider when I walked out of this building 12 years ago. It was a hopeless situation, People weren't hiring. Was looking for a job. I had a baby on the way. For him to redeem my experience here, because again, I had sworn off media, and then to come back.
You were a teacher as well.
Yeah, I completely left, turned my back. I was never going to work in media again because of the bitterness of that experience. Mm-hmm. And then that he would bring me back to the same building and totally redeem it. I mean, this has been the best working experience of my life.
Wow, you've led a sad life.
It is pathetic. And that he would redeem that is really humbling to me.
Well, I would like you to pick up the brand new book. It's available Amazon. Also, you can go to glennbeck.com, and I have read the first chapter. So if you want to hear the first chapter, we read it and produced it. Don't say I ever gave you anything. I'm thrilled. I wish I could have read the whole book for you. But the first chapter is available now at glennbeck.com. And check it out. You can also get it there by just following the links. It's called Life on Christmas Eve, something that you might want to start next week to put you in the right frame of mind for Christmas. Life on Christmas Eve, a new novel by Nathan Nipper. Nathan, thank you. God bless.